Hi, and welcome to a deeper dive into the challenges of mothering and motherhood. This episode came out of a conversation I had earlier this year on the podcast, a fireside chat about the challenges of mothering and motherhood with Hayley Anderson, a birth story medicine practitioner and herself a mother. And if you haven't listened to that, you should definitely go and do that. You can absolutely do that afterwards, after you've listened to this particular episode. It's not necessarily a prerequisite for what's being shared today. But that being said, some of today's conversation might make more sense or even more sense to you if you've listened to the other one before. So I will link to that below, and you can easily find the fireside chat about the challenges of mothering and motherhood. The thing is, after Hayley and I stopped recording, we stayed in the Zoom room and kept on chatting. And we actually kept chatting a while longer. And the longer we chatted, the deeper our conversation went. And we thought it would be really valuable to you to share some of these deeper insights with you. So today's episode is actually a mix of outtakes from this after chat that we had that we don't want you to miss out on. The first part is going to be a 6-minute video I recorded myself right after Hayley and I parted ways that day with my impressions of that chat, because it brought something up that was very deep and very healing for myself. And I recorded a chat, a little conversation right afterwards to reflect on this. And that's going to be the first part. And afterwards, we'll follow the outtakes of the conversation I had with Hayley. But before we dive into this, a brief reminder that Lisa Yara, I am a female health coach specializing in menstrual and menopausal health. And I'm also a confidant through the challenging life transitions, through major turning points that are usually connected to our cycle in some way, shape, or form: the menstrual cycle, the fertility cycle, the bigger cycles of life. And I work one-on-one with women and non-binary menstruators who are either going through such a major life transition or who experience menstrual or menopausal or perimenopausal health challenges. So whether it's irregular periods, painful bleeds, endometriosis, PCOS, PMS, premenstrual syndrome, or PMDD, premenstrual dysphoric disorder, or whether you experience perimenopausal health challenges like insomnia, hot flashes, weight gain, joint ache, brain fog, mood swings, I am here to help you take your female health into your own hands in a holistic way, so addressing body, heart, mind, and soul, and a natural way. So if you want, without medication, external hormones, or surgery, like no judgment if you do take or do want to take some of that. It's just that I have some ideas of what else can be done in a natural way. And I do that so that you can feel safe, happy, healthy, and wholly in your body. A, and B, so that you can collaborate with your doctors instead of feeling dependent on them. Because I'm not against the medical system. I know that it has its own right and value. Yet there are sometimes we feel dependent on our doctors to tell us what's wrong with our bodies. And I want you to feel like you are a powerful communicator with your own body, so that then you can go to your doctor and make informed choices for yourself. And you can simply book a discovery call with me. I will link to that below, and we can discuss what's going on for you, what you're going through, what you're experiencing, and what a good next step could be to support yourself and your body. And this call is also designed to see whether or not we are a good fit, if I can actually help you, or if I know someone who's better equipped to help you, or if I've got some resources that I can point you towards. So if you would like to get to know me personally and how I would approach whatever it is that you are dealing with or experiencing, then book a call below. It's completely without any obligations. And in any case, don't forget to subscribe to Moonday Musings, my weekly e-letter on Moondays, because Mondays are connected to the moon. So we stay in touch. You can stay updated about any workshops and events that I do, about my podcast episodes, but also lots of personal musings, food for thought, and of course, information on female health. And I want you to simply start the week feeling more refreshed and inspired and grounded and connected to yourself and your body. And I will leave that link below as well. And now enjoy the deeper dive into the challenges of mothering and motherhood. I have just come out of a very potent conversation. I recorded another episode of the Fireside Chat about taboo topic series with today's guest, Hayley Anderson. And she is a birth story medicine practitioner and a mother. And we were talking about the challenges of motherhood and mothering in today's day and age. And she gave me a big piece of food for thought that I'm super grateful for, and like that's really sinking in and opening things up inside of me. Because a bit of background, I am as of yet child free. I don't have children yet. I am actively thinking about whether or not I want to. And I know that I am in a very lucky position, that not everybody is, to be able to make that clear choice. And one of the reasons that has held me back, and why up until now I was so unsure whether or not I want children, is because of this narrative that runs in my family through my mother and her being a single mother, and just her perspective on the world, that like children mean your freedom is completely taken away. You don't have any choice of your own anymore. You are responsible, and this responsibility weighs very heavily. I mean, obviously you are responsible, right? And you have to do it all alone, and there's no one to support you. Add on the messages, or like what you see all around in other people's lives, that women are left alone dealing with children and household and job, while the partner isn't doing much. Some of them might be more forthcoming, and yet many women feel like they are all alone in this. And the challenge, or what Hayley proposed, was that there was a time where we lived in villages, and it was not just one mother who had to bear all the responsibility for raising her child. It was even more that like everybody would raise every child together, also to kind of prevent traumatizing children, because when they have interactions with many different people of all walks of life, then they will probably feel more free to be themselves as well. And what she said was that she actively made a commitment that, or maybe you can call it like surrendering to the universe, that the world was going to raise her child or support her in raising her child, because she let this birth this being into the world, and she trusts that the world is going to raise that child with her, which comes with a lot of grief and rage in today's society, because all the imprints children might get through the way things are in our society might not be what we as mothers or as parents want. But just this thought opened up so much in me that, like, yeah, I'm not alone in this. As much alone I feel, and as much that is portrayed as the thing that like the mother or the parent is responsible for raising the child, but trusting that this child that you have birthed is a child of the world, and you allow it to go into the world and let the world shape it and let it explore this world, and that it's not up to you to control how this being is shaped, but it will have all these different influences. And that actually, for me right now, took a lot of pressure out when I think about that. Oh, it's not just me, and I will certainly do my best, but I'm not perfect, because no human being is, and there is nothing, no such thing as a perfect mother or perfect parent, and that's okay. And the world will help raise that child through all the experiences the child will make. And yes, I'm still, I can still be here and say, here I am, the safe haven. If you need someone to process, or to hold you for a moment, or to witness you in something, I'm here. But I trust that this whole thing, the world, the people you meet, the experiences you make, that will shape you and raise you and help you. Yeah, I might be there to support you in making sense of some things, especially when you're younger, but it's not all on me. And that was really uplifting and freeing and liberating. And yeah, so thank you, Hayley, if you're watching this. It was a pleasure to talk to you, and I can't wait to bring this conversation to the world. Much love.
I watched Cloud Atlas last night. Have you seen that film?
Yeah, when it came out, so I don't remember a bit.
Yeah, I for some reason just totally missed it, and then finally got to watch it last night. And there's a bit at the end about being drops of water that create the change. And there's the character's father is saying, you're not going to be able to change anything, you're a mere drop in the water. And then he replies with the sea is but a million drops of water. And I really liked that. I was like, yes.
Yeah, that is also one of these things, like, I have heard so many times, you're too small, you can't change anything, why bother? Yeah, because if I don't bother, nothing will change.
Yeah, exactly.
If I bother, at least I will change.
And the disparity between where we are over here and where things are over here, the change that we cultivate in ourselves has such a bigger impact, because it's so, everything's so ready for it, and it's so needed, that I think the impact is bigger than a drop. It's like a drop that sends out ripples.
The ripples. Yes.
Ripples.
Yes.
There's no way that we can tell where our ripples, what and who and where the ripples are touching. And that's a very powerful thing.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And every time I have a conversation like this, particularly if people don't have children, I just so value it, because I feel like these conversations are knitting us back together. For all of the, like, the ways that mothers and parents get isolated in their own little boxes. And I always think of my child-free friends, like, sort of running free outside. I mean, they're not. They're at work.
Exactly. They are trapped in their own cages.
Exactly. And this, the whole system is designed to keep us separate. So every time we have one of these conversations, it's such a connection. It's such a way back to each other. Yeah.
thank you so much for pointing that out also in the recording itself. It's just like, to me, I always feel like, oh my God, who am I to speak, because I don't even have children? How can I say things? And so it's really lovely to have someone who actually appreciates that.
Oh, I so appreciate it. I so appreciate it. And perhaps that appreciation for me has come from really not experiencing that from some people in my life, and losing. I've lost friends from just trying to negotiate the challenges of meeting up. Being a parent, I remember I actually, in the early days, had a text message that was a pre-written text message that was about when Holly napped, because I was so tired of trying. I was so tired of trying to communicate it to people who'd never looked after a baby, which is a lot of people. And until very recently was me, I didn't know that a baby had to nap 3 times a day and that it's like a massive thing. But if they don't nap at that time, then it just screws up.
Then hullabaloo, yes. I know.
And so meeting, trying to meet up with someone and not being able to be flexible because the baby needs to nap at this time. Yeah, it was so hard. So I had this pre-written message that I just used to fire off to people because it just was so much work trying to arrange to meet up. And
it's so interesting because, my husband and I, we are like, whenever we hear parents say these things that, but I don't know with my child, we're like, no problem at all. And we wonder, are there so many people who, like, of course you have different things on your mind. Of course your child can get sick any minute and you might have to cancel. For us, that's like normal.
Yeah, that's really
in a good sense.
That'll be so great for everyone around you with children to feel that that's okay, because there is a pressure. There are, because everyone's busy, everyone's making their money, doing their things, and it can feel for parents that they're so invisible, and that the extra load of looking after the children on top of that isn't seen or understood. And it's it's a big thing to sort of speak up and say, oh, this is what my child needs, so we need to do it like that instead. It takes quite a lot. So it's really great that you're aware of that. And
it's just so interesting. I don't understand the people who don't think about this.
Well, it's surprising how many. It's when I was talking to a friend of mine who's just become a mother. Her baby's a month old, and she was saying how people are inviting her out in the evening. People are messaging her saying, "Oh, do you want to go out? We're going to go for a meal here. Do you want to come out? Or do you fancy doing something?" And she's like, "I'm in bed by 6 p.m." She's up so much in the night that she just which is completely how it is at that time. There's nothing wrong with her because that's the case. That's just what's needed. And it's the level of the level of disconnect there, and the lack of information, which I was certainly guilty of before becoming a mother. Just didn't understand the immense effort that my mother friends were having to go to come out for a drink with me in the evening. I didn't appreciate that at the time. But I'm very vocal about it now. If I go for a drink with one of my friends that don't have children, I'm just like, this is amazing. Look, there's nobody clinging on to me. And I like to make a big deal out of it, because it's like, look, this is a big deal for me that I'm out at the pub at this time. Like an excited child myself, having an uninterrupted conversation in the evening.
I have to make some outtakes of this video and put it in the end because
you're so welcome to do that. I'm really happy for you to do that. And it does make me realize in that short time, there's just so much to say about mothering and motherhood, and so much.
We didn't even dive into, like, we stayed more with the birthing part, kind of. We didn't even dive into what it means to raise a child when it starts to run around and think and have a will on its own.
Oh gosh, I mean, that is massive in itself. But there's also that the thing that was coming to me at the end was about the idea of the perfect mother, which is just so toxic in our culture, and how we each have, it's a bit similar to that rule book that we create, how we each have an idea of what a mother should be and what a mother should do, and how
heavily influenced by patriarchy, by the way.
Oh yeah, completely. Well, I would say that is the idea of patriarchal mother, the patriarchal mother, who bakes all the cakes, who makes all the food from scratch every day, who's responsible for the child's spiritual, emotional, physical development, who gets them into...
And who, by the way, takes care of the household, of the husband, has a job, and is a sexy vixen in the evening.
Yeah. The list is endless. And then there's the list of the qualities that she should possess, and how she should put her children first, and the implication of that. But then if she does put her children first and she abandons herself, then she gets a load of stuff for that as well. So, that we were talking about the rock and the hard place, like...
Exactly.
The perfect mother myth is that it's like, I'm going to put you right over here up against all these rocks, and then internalize all of that whilst you're looking after a baby. It's that.
And I didn't even dive into, I would have wanted, but it didn't feel like the place, but that this idea of a perfect mother, it's completely bullshit, of course. And the implication of that is that you will very possibly traumatize your child in one way or another. And that doesn't make you a bad mother.
Yeah. Yes.
Which is a radical thing to say. Yeah. But yes, of course, you will do things that will traumatize your child. Not willingly, of course. I hope not. But it happens, and that doesn't make you a bad mother.
Yeah.
It's just that your child will have to deal with their own stuff.
Yeah. And that's one of the big, big consequences of patriarchal motherhood and the lack of the village. Because in a village scenario, everybody is responsible for raising and shaping that child. And in functioning villages that still exist on this earth, the mother and father have no responsibility beyond keeping the child alive. They have no responsibility to shape who they are. And there's a reason for that. It's to prevent intergenerational trauma from continuing. So in a healthy village setting where children are being raised, it goes to the people beyond the parents to take on the soul work and the emotional maturation of the child.
Love it.
Mother and father, they literally feed them and give them somewhere to sleep, and that's it.
And so they take care of other children then.
Yes, exactly. Then they take on a role of being auntie to or mother, or however. They probably don't have these words because they don't need those words to create that connection. It's just there. And that's something that I do try and cultivate with, the first step in cultivating that is trusting the culture to raise my daughter, which is quite a thing to...
In this culture?
Exactly. But this is where, like, the naming it. So if I'm committed to dismantling patriarchal motherhood in myself, then I need to trust other people to look after my child. And then what comes off the back of that is grieving. And then it's my responsibility to grieve that is not an ideal situation. And there's a lot of grief in the reality that she doesn't belong to me. She belongs to this world, actually. I've brought her here, but ultimately I need to allow this world to raise her, because otherwise it will kill me and I will burn out. So it's actually a really loving thing. It's not ideal, but it's a very loving thing. And it's a revillaging thing. So it's, it's big. And there was something else. I can't remember the other thing that I was going to say around that. Yes, taking responsibility for other people's children in situations where I can, to take a vested responsibility in the children in my community, which isn't always welcome. But when there's an opening to that, I will fully step into that, because I see them as my children as well. And that's another sort of internal revillaging shift that needs to happen, across the board.
That's definitely one thing that has held me away from that, making that decision whether or not I want to have a child, is this. It will take all my freedom away. I will have to take care of everything. I will not be supported, because unfortunately we do also in our patriarchal culture see that very often, that the mothers are not supported by even their partners.
Yeah.
And this fear alone that I have, and my mother raised me on her own. Well, she has her own deep patriarchal internalized strictures about that. And I just took them from her. I know my husband is very different. I do firmly believe that he is one of those who see themselves as equal to me in having to raise a child when they put one in the world, which I'm very grateful for. But it takes the unraveling in me to allow that to happen, right? The unraveling in me to say, hey, I'm not alone in this. I actually have support I can lean on, and I allow myself to lean on it.
Yeah. And that's one of the best practices in whether you have a child or not, but sort of cultivating the inner mother is practicing leaning on people fully and asking for that. That's such good practice for becoming a mother in real time, or just in ourselves, mothering ourselves. And I just wanted to share that there's only so much preparation you can do, and there's only so much unraveling you can do before physically becoming a mother, because the act of becoming a mother and pregnancy and birth is designed to unravel us. So there's a physiological gateway in place to support us in that, and then putting in place the support that we'll need afterwards to welcome us back. Yeah, but just to maybe lighten your load a little bit.
Yeah, of course. No, but just being aware of it and knowing what I need to unravel is important to go into that phase. I don't have to have done all the unraveling, but just being aware of what needs unraveling can help.
Yeah. And anticipating that there'll probably be more as well that haven't been seen yet. I'm still discovering more pieces to that puzzle.
Yeah, but thank you for bringing this village idea into the conversation. That's really rich, and I knew that on some level, but the way you explained it today really sank in. And it reminds me why I love the practice of the red tent so much, because that's what red tents were for, right? You were there with all the women of the village who were bleeding, or all the bleeding people of the village. And so a young woman or a young person, a young menstruator, didn't just have their mother to turn to. If there was something they didn't want to discuss with their mother, there were hundreds other people there to turn to, with whoever they trusted most.
It was never really the role of the mother to do that in a functioning culture. It was never really the mother.
At least not all of it. I mean, there is always a special bond between a mother and that child, I think. But that doesn't mean it's her responsibility.
There was something that I heard in postpartum that rocked my perception of the mother-child bond, which was, I can't remember who it was now. It's gone, but it was somebody who had grown up in a functioning culture in Africa, and she said that she didn't realize she had a birth mother until she was about 5, because she was breastfed and looked after by so many different mothers that she didn't realize she had a mother. But she had this unbelievable sense of being mothered by all these women. And I just, that was a big shifting moment for me when, as a breastfeeding mother on my own in lockdown, breastfeeding my baby, I can't even remember how many times a day, but too many times to get more than 3 hours sleep. The idea that there could be one other person to breastfeed my child was, wow, that means I could get 6 hours sleep. The idea that there could be a village of breastfeeding mothers, and the idea of the gut biome and sharing our microbiome with all of the children, and all of the children getting that resilience in themselves from multiple mothers. I mean, the sort of psycho-spiritual resilience to that is like, wow. So I think
that is wow.
That focus around mother and child, it's so important for understanding things around, in our modern culture, around how pregnant women should be treated and cared for, and how birthing women should be treated and cared for. The mother-baby dyad is really important, but it's only important because we live in an isolated patriarchal culture. If we didn't, it wouldn't hold so much importance, and there wouldn't be such a load on the mother, because there would
That's
be
the thing, the load,
buffers upon buffers upon buffers of support, which we originated from. We all originated from some functioning culture like that. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We've got ancestors, a line of mothers going back, and that all of that is there. I mean, it's relatively new that it's not in place.
Yeah, interesting. I would be interested in what that woman would have to say about when she discovered that she had an actual birth mother, if that connection still felt different to the others or not. And maybe not.
Yeah, that would be such an interesting conversation to have. And as her as an adult who who left her. She was someone who'd left her culture and was living in America. I'll have to try and find it, who it was, because that's quite an important story, I think. Put that in the talk. That's a really mind-blowing thing for people to hear, that one. I'd forgotten about that.
You know, the only reason why I wouldn't put it in there is I would have to cut myself out asking this bond question because I feel so stupid I even said it.
Oh no, that was a brilliant question.
Yeah, but like, you know, I came from this place of, yeah, of course there is a special bond between mother and child. And yeah, what if there isn't? So yeah, my own biases, right?
But Lisa, that is everywhere. That idea,
Yeah.
the mother and child bond is so special. It's everywhere, and it is special. It is special, and it's vital in our
culture, yes.
Yeah. But because I'm trying to birth in something new, so radically new, I'm questioning it all and breaking it apart and creating.
Yeah, and I love that. That's totally right up my alley.
Yeah, so I think, you know, I don't want you to feel embarrassed or that you asked that question, because I would totally have asked that question 2 years ago, and would definitely have asked that question before becoming a mother.
Right.
Because this is part of the, you know, accepting and loving ourselves despite our conditioning. That's the work. That's like the big, you know, even though I grew up in the patriarchal.
Yeah, and showing people I'm not perfect.
Exactly. We're not perfect. We're not perfect. And even though I believe and have some embodied understanding that the mother-child dyad isn't the most important thing, I'm still having to live that out every day, because I'm on my own with my daughter every day, looking after her on my own. So it's quite discombobulating to walk with that reality. I shouldn't be doing this. I shouldn't be doing this alone, but I'm doing this alone. I shouldn't be doing this alone, but I'm doing this alone. You know, it's very tiring to have that awareness. And I'm definitely in the minority having that awareness. And not very many people want to talk to me about it, because it's quite a difficult thing the level of grief and anger that it can bring up can be completely overwhelming. And, you know, I've screamed into so many cushions in the toilet and grieved so hard at so many grief rituals since becoming a mother that I'm able to be honest about it. But it's huge. It's huge work. It's a huge undertaking to even try to understand it at a head level. So I just really just really be loving with yourself, because it was a brilliant question, because it led to
that answer, and now I'm wiser. Like it has given my mind something to expand. I love that.
Yes. Yeah, I love that so much when that happens. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much for having me, and for all of your amazing questions and space holding, and I really value what you're doing.
Thank you. Likewise. I really value and appreciate what you are doing. So let's meet again next year.
Yeah. See you soon. Okay, love.
Have a beautiful day.
You too. Bye.
Bye.